Breaking. Britain just exploded. 300,000 people in the streets, a government accused of stealing homes from veterans to profit from a $2.4 billion migrant housing scheme. And tonight, the Prime Minister can't leave Parliament without police protection. This is the story they tried to bury. If you want the truth they don't want you to see, hit subscribe right now. Because what I'm about to show you will change how you see everything. This isn't speculation, this isn't theory, this is documented proof of corruption at the highest levels of the British government. It started quietly in 2023. The Home Office launched an emergency migrant housing plan. Sounds good, right? Compassion, help for those in need, a humanitarian response to a crisis. But look closer. 5 construction firms got the contracts, all 5 major donors to Keir Starmer's 2024 campaign. One company, Westbridge Contracts Limited, donated $2.7 million to his campaign. Weeks later, they got $620 million in hotel and housing deals. The total program, $2.4 billion, is now under criminal investigation. But here's where it gets dark, really dark. The contracts weren't just awarded to donors, they were written specifically for them. Leaked documents show Westbridge executives helped draft the tender requirements that only their company could meet. Clauses buried in 400-page documents guaranteed profit margins of up to 40%. No competitive bidding, no oversight committees, just handshakes and bank transfers. One whistleblower, a former procurement officer who spoke under anonymity, revealed that objections were raised internally. Those who questioned the process were reassigned or dismissed. 3 senior civil servants who refused to sign off on the contracts were forced into early retirement within 6 weeks. The paper trail is damning. Emails between Westbridge CEO Jonathan Hartley and senior Home Office officials show meetings scheduled for private residences and off-site locations. Encrypted messaging apps, burner phones. The behavior wasn't just suspicious, it was criminal.
Over 15,000 social homes were cleared. Homes belonging to veterans and pensioners, people who built this country, people who fought for it, people who paid taxes for 50 years, believing those safety nets would be there when they needed them. Meet Thomas Reed, 67 years old, Falkland War veteran, lost his left leg in 1982 defending Britain during the assault on Mount Longdon. 2 months ago, he got a letter. A reallocation order. His home was being taken for migrant resettlement. No consultation, no appeal process, just a government stamp and a 30-day eviction notice. Today, Thomas Reed sleeps in his car, outside the home they took from him. The same home he'd lived in for 14 years, modified for his disability with rails and ramps paid for by veterans' charities. He told reporters, "I gave my leg for this country. Now I sleep in my car while they house people who arrived last month in 4-star hotels." And he's not alone. Thousands of veterans and pensioners were removed from housing lists, doors locked, names erased, eviction letters stamped with government seals and delivered by private security firms. Not even proper bailiffs. Margaret Collins, 73, a widow whose husband died in Northern Ireland, was removed from her Camden flat of 22 years. She now stays with her daughter's family, sleeping on a sofa. Her belongings in storage she can't afford. David Patterson, a Gulf War veteran with PTSD, was evicted from supported housing in Leeds. He's been missing for 3 weeks. His family fears the worst. Meanwhile, 42 luxury hotels across southern England now house over 32,000 asylum seekers. Full taxpayer funding, breakfast buffets, spa services, private security. Some hotels charge the government up to £150 per person per night, triple the standard rate. Outside those hotels, pensioners sleep in cars, veterans on benches, British citizens who served their country now invisible on their own streets. The cost isn't just financial, it's moral. A betrayal so profound that it's shaken the foundation of the social contract. Then, everything changed. 217 pages of Home Office files marked confidential were leaked to the press. Bank transfers traced to offshore accounts, referral fees disguised as consulting payments, encrypted messages showing coordination between Westbridge executives and members of the Prime Minister's inner circle.
One message, dated 3 weeks before the program launched, read, "Package approved, PM on board, proceed with Phase 2. Another, from a Home Office official to a Westbridge director, said, "Veterans housing stock identified, low political risk, proceed." They actually wrote that. The moment those files hit the internet, Britain erupted. Not slowly, not gradually, like a powder keg. Anonymous sources suggest the leak came from within the Home Office itself. Career civil servants horrified by what they were being asked to facilitate. The files were uploaded to multiple platforms simultaneously, making takedown impossible. Within 3 hours, they'd been downloaded over 2 million times. By morning, the streets were full. Manchester, Birmingham, Leeds, Bristol, London, Newcastle, Glasgow, Cardiff. This wasn't organized by any political party. It was organic rage from every corner of the nation. Crowds surrounded Downing Street. Police and riot gear held shields as hundreds of thousands chanted, "Resign, resign." Flares turned the night red. Coins and bottles flew through the air. The protest organizers urged restraint. Protesters climbed the gates of Whitehall carrying banners, "Homes for Britain, not for deals." Veterans in wheelchairs blocked the road. Pensioners sat arm in arm across Parliament Street. One banner showed Thomas Reed's face next to the West Bridge logo. The caption, "Who sold Britain?" Over 480 arrests in the first night alone. Dozens of officers injured. But the chants didn't stop. They grew louder. By day 2, 50 towns and cities had active protests. Inside Number 10, staff pulled blinds as the walls shook. Security was tripled. The Prime Minister canceled all public appearances. This wasn't political theater. This was a constitutional crisis unfolding in real time. Then the government did something shocking, something that confirmed every suspicion. Late that night, the Home Office issued an internal order: delete all files linked to Westbridge, scrub communications, remove email threads, erase server logs. At 2 a.m., over 11,000 government records were erased in 4 minutes. A whistleblower IT administrator captured the screen logs before they disappeared, uploading them to secure servers abroad. Digital forensics confirmed the deletion came from inside Downing Street, from terminals with the highest clearance. This wasn't a rogue staffer. This was coordinated destruction of evidence. The Prime Minister's office blamed foreign interference, Russia, China, the usual suspects, but the evidence said otherwise. The commands came from authenticated government accounts. The timing, immediately after the leak, was too convenient. Opposition MPs demanded an emergency investigation. Starmer's allies blocked it, citing national security concerns. Translation? Panic. Pure panic. A leaked text from a senior advisor read, "If we go down, we take the Home Office with us. Scorched earth." Another message, "Destroy everything. Legal can't defend what doesn't exist." The cover-up was worse than the crime, and everyone could see it. Within 48 hours, emergency orders gave police expanded powers. Curfews in London, Leeds, Birmingham. Social media posts about Downing Street were flagged as unrest. Accounts were suspended. Police raided homes of protest organizers. Dozens of veterans were arrested under the Public Order Act, including Thomas Reed. 3 officers dragged the one-legged Falklands veteran from his car at 5 a.m. on live television. News helicopters captured everything. Him pleading, officers shouting, the indignity broadcast to millions. The government called it restoring order. The people called it war. War on dissent, war on truth, war on citizens. By nightfall, tear gas filled Trafalgar Square. Drone footage showed police lines collapsing under the weight of bodies. The flag over Parliament hung in smoke. But something changed. Veterans at the front of crowds urged calm. "Don't give them an excuse," one shouted. "Our weapon is truth. Stay peaceful, stay strong." Inside Parliament, the walls finally cracked. During an emergency session, MPs screamed across the chamber, "Where's the Prime Minister? Why isn't he answering? What is he hiding?" Starmer entered under police escort, pale, jaw tight. Opposition benches erupted, "Resign, resign." A member held up the West Bridge ledger on live TV, reading aloud, £2.7 million in donations, £620 million in contracts. You bought the government and sold the people. In the gallery, veterans stood in silence. One raised his prosthetic leg above his head. Cameras captured it. The image went viral within minutes. Even the Prime Minister's allies looked shaken. Then came the vote. No confidence. 287 to 251. It failed, but barely. 5 members of Starmer's own party voted against him. Within hours, 5 cabinet members resigned. Financial markets crashed overnight. The pound dropped 4%. Downing Street went dark, literally. But something else happened, something powerful. Across the country, protests stopped. Not because they were defeated, but because someone suggested silence for 67 seconds, one for each year of Thomas Reed's life. The crowds went silent. Then someone whispered, "For Britain," and the chant began again, softer, unified, unstoppable. Flowers and Union Jacks appeared in the streets, messages written on them. "We remember, never forget, Britain first." This wasn't left versus right anymore. It was survival. It was the soul of a nation. Vigils were held outside veterans' hospitals. Pensioners were invited into strangers' homes. Fundraisers for displaced veterans raised millions in 48 hours. Britain was angry, but more than that, Britain was awake. Tonight, this isn't just one man's fall. It's a nation waking up from decades of comfortable sleep, waking up to realize the contract was broken, the promises were lies, the system was rigged. From Falklands veterans to frozen pensioners, the message is the same: enough, no more. The £2.4 billion scandal may end one career, it may topple one government, but it's rewritten British history. It's reminded people who they are, what they stand for, and what they will no longer tolerate. Because once a country sees the truth, really sees it, it cannot unsee it. The scales have fallen. These protests aren't dying. They're spreading, city to city, street to street, voice to voice. This is the moment children will learn about in schools. The moment Britain said no. This isn't collapse, it's correction. Painful, necessary, inevitable. And as the smoke clears over Westminster, one line remains on every banner, every wall. We are Britain. And we remember. This story is far from over. The next hearing is in 72 hours. Criminal investigations are expanding. More whistleblowers are coming forward. If you want to see what happens next, subscribe and turn on notifications. Share this with someone who needs to know the truth. Because those who tried to hide it are counting on you to look away. Don't. Stay with us. The next chapter starts now.